Are you looking for a way to grow your B2B business or software company? Well, how about learning some of the best tips for content marketing, connecting with potential partners, and pitching your business? Well, if that's you and it sounds great, I invite you to join us on our upcoming B2B content marketing Q&A and speed dating podcast party. This is a live Zoom call for our community members and listeners to our podcast that can come along, and you'll get to interact, learn something new, and then also have a chance to get expert advice and make valuable connections. All right. The session will be recorded and published on our Authentic Influence podcast. All right. So register now and join us live on Zoom. The next event is coming up in a few weeks' time. Just head over to simplecreativemarketing.com/podcast party. That's simplecreativemarketing.com/podcast party to register. There's only 15 spots, so if you want to jump in, go ahead and do that today. Hope to see you there real soon. So what's the best content strategy for a healthcare consulting business? Well, that's the question we're going to answer with this episode. And before we do that, let me just emphasize that the best content strategy is going to be highly dependent on where you are in your business, who your target audience is, and a whole bunch of other things that need to come into place, right? So having said that, in this episode, we share a recording of a live Q&A session from our May B2B Podcast Party, where Elle Kersey, founder of luxemaverick.com, that's Lux, L-U-X-E, maverick.com, asks, how do I create a content strategy for my healthcare consulting business? And so we tackle that in this session, and this should give you some idea of the elements of what you might want to include in your content strategy. Whether or not you have a healthcare consulting business, it should still apply. So let's get into it. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask Ellie, because you are actually here, Ellie. Before I'm going to not answer the other two questions for now. Let's go to Ellie. Do you have a question for me whilst you have my attention?
Okay, so I guess my question would be, when you are how do you begin? Like, okay, so your content strategy, that's always a thing. Like, everybody's like, you gotta begin with your strategy first. So where do you go to decide what your strategy should be? Because there's a bajillion different types of strategies.
Yeah. So let's start off with, are you clear on the difference between a strategy and tactics?
Maybe not.
Yeah. So let's have a quick mini coaching session here. Erica, maybe you being a strategist, how would you define strategy versus tactics?
Strategies is the implementations of models.
Implementation models. Okay, so what's a tactic then?
A gimmick, maybe. I'm not really sure.
That's all right. So
I don't think they last long.
Yeah, typically tactics don't go for a long time. So that's a good point. Strategy is the end goal. All right. Okay. What are we trying to achieve? Okay. Another way that you could think about this is, what direction are we headed? Okay. Right. Like for Elle, what's the strategy of your business? Where do you want your business to be in 5 years' time? What do you want to be known for?
I want to be known for presenting to the world the best version of microcurrent. That's really what I want to be known for. And I want to also have have training. So right now we're just trying to get more kind of iconic or more visible clients, so that we can kind of tell the world, like, this really works. So use that kind of celebrity idea. But at the same time, we're going to build a school so that people can come and learn how to use microcurrent the way that I created it.
Okay. You call it microcurrent. Okay. So can you describe what that is?
Microcurrent therapy is an electronic uh, well, the device is electric, and we use in the modality is we take the energy frequency of your body to make your body remember what it actually is supposed to be doing. So, like if you have scar tissue, your body continues to make scar tissue for a long period of time because it's confused, because you haven't um, done what you need to do, like rest and get enough nutrition and all those kind of things to
Yep.
have your body stop, right? So what microcurrent does is it reminds the cells of what they're supposed to be doing so that they must stop making too much scar tissue, and it begins to the actual healing process that's supposed to take place after the scar tissue is formed.
Okay.
So there's, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. All right.
So
So tell me, who you mentioned professional athletes. Is there anyone else? Is that the primary group of people that you serve?
yes, professional athletes and high performance executives, like take executives that one of my clients is um a architect,
Mm-hmm.
but what he has to always do is be up on like super high buildings and stuff, and
Yeah.
he was starting to
Yeah.
lose his balance. And so I had to help him, and had been to the doctor, done everything, and nothing was working. And so what I figured out was that he had like some atrophy that needed to be addressed. So once I fixed it, he was able to go back to work without worrying about falling off the scaffolding. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a great story. And a great example of how your work impacts somebody, right? Um, so this is the direction. Okay, so this could be like the 5 year or the 10 year goal or the vision, right, for where we're headed, right? So that to me, then the question is, okay, if we were to zoom that to 12 months from now, all right, what
Mhm.
needs to happen in 12 months for us to get to that vision that's a 5 year or 10 year vision?
I believe that we probably need to get probably some. I don't know if athletes are considered like A-list celebrity type stuff, but like I probably need to at least have two A-list athletes. I'm working on that right now. We've worked on those in the next 12 months. Oh, and also we need to um, have like, so we have a podcast, and I wrote a book, and what's the other thing we doing, Erica? The book, the podcast, and something else.
You wrote 2 ebooks.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Um,
and then I got a new lead
Yeah.
magnet that Jimmy's making me.
oh, the
So
event.
so
It was a
oh
six
yeah,
summit
yeah, yeah.
series.
Oh yes. So that's so yeah. So we got the ebook. We have the printed book. We got the lead magnet. We have the podcast, and so the ebook, we're gonna do a whole. I mean, the printed book, we're gonna do a whole launch for it. So I'll be out there doing um the book tour, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. So
So
if I can just clarify with you, the build a school, is that a longer term vision, or is that what needs to happen before you build the school?
all that stuff I just told you is gonna happen before the end of this year. So that's already in the
Wow.
works.
All right. Okay.
Right. And so the next year, I'm thinking probably maybe like a year from now. So now, like around this time next year, we should be able to, because we already have people who want to learn.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. We already have people who want to learn, but we are in the process of you got to put everything together. It has to. I want it to be a good school.
Okay, cool. Love it. So so this is a broader strategy, and this could be your company strategy, right? Which is here. And then we have a 12-month strategy, right? Which is, okay, what needs to happen in terms of the business? Now, what you haven't spoken about yet is what's the revenue, right? For you to, if you get 2 celebrity athletes, right? Well, how much are they paying you? What's how does the business sustain itself, right? Do you want to be profitable within 12 months? Or is it more just about, let's just get those 2 celebrity athletes, so then we have brand? Like what is, what I mean? Like what's at the end of the 12 months, by this time in 2023, okay, where is the business at?
Okay, so if we get the two celebrities, they will bring other people. So I will have, because the goal for me is to be able to see between 18 and 20, I think it's 24 people in a year, right? So the revenue, I'm feeling like we should, in this first year, we should be able to do like 330,000.
Okay, that's good.
Minimum.
Yep. And then how much is your salary in that? Or with you and your team members? What's the? I don't need you.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't need you to.
I don't.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want you to.
I don't know.
Here, but I want you to think about it. Okay. So you need to sit down and go, because for a business, it's not just about the revenue. It's also about how much you're spending and keeping it afterwards.
Yes. Okay. Got you.
So you want to break that down. What's our salary or profit, if you want to talk about profit, and then what is our expenses, right? And so you want to factor those numbers in and think about those, okay? And that gives us a direction, okay? Because then if we allocate, okay, expenses are maybe 50% of the revenue, right? That's just a number I'm making up. But then you can work within that. You can say, well, of those expenses, let's break those down. What are those expenses? What are the actual, I've got to pay for my rent. I've got to pay for staff. I've got to pay for suppliers. I've got to pay for whatever it may be, licenses if you've got that, if you've insurances if you've got that. So these are all things that are important. Okay, so this is. You might be thinking, why am I talking about financial conversation in a content strategy conversation? It's because I want you and Erica and anyone listening to this to get very clear that a business is dependent upon how much money you're making and how much you're essentially giving away or investing into making that business sustainable, right? Because you don't want to be where I was, where I basically ran my business for 3 years and made zero money, right? And if it wasn't for my saving grace, which is my wife, and her financial support, I would have given up a long time ago. So this is important. Okay, and I know particularly if you're parents and you have kids to take care of and these sort of things, and family members, that all there plays into the equation. Okay, so now from there, what I would say, okay, if your goal is to hit 330 revenue target and you've already identified 18 to 24 clients per year, that's brilliant. Okay, so then my next question would be, how do we get those 18 to 24 clients? Okay, and so that comes down to talking about what are the things, what are we offering, right? So packages, products, right? Okay, so these are the things that you would I assume you already have those, Elle and Erica. I know you're working through those, and then from there, tactics are individual activities that you're putting out there to try and attract new business. Okay, so ebook, printed book, lead magnet, podcast, they're all tactics. Okay, the broader strategy is, our strategy here is to secure 18 clients in the next 12 months. That is your strategy, and keep that in your head. And those 18 to 24 clients need to generate around $330,000, or you might have that as a range. You might have, it has to be between, maybe at the minimum you want 200K, 330 is nice, or maybe, give yourself a range so there's some leeway. All right, so you don't feel like, oh, just because we didn't hit the 330, it's a failure, right?
Right. I think it could be more. I was being just kind of, that was like when I first started this, I was like, that would be a great starting place.
Okay, so what would be the high end of that then? If it's
2 million.
2 mil, okay, right. So then you're going to need several athletes that can pay packages that are higher premium, for whatever service that you deliver, and that's fine. So you can work that out, right? So
I do have I have a roadmap of services that's available.
Yeah.
So like my highest package is $1 million, and that's where we go through your entire body and we get rid of all of the old injuries that you've ever had. Because what I've in my research and talking to actual athletes is, what they said is that they've had injuries since they were young, that they ended up having to compensate for most of their lives. And so, like, they all have to take, not all, but some of them have to take ibuprofen. Some of them have to do, like, really strenuous things like acupuncture, taping, and all different kinds of things just to be able to make it to the field. So what I can do is, like, get rid of all that so they no longer have to do those compensation things on the field that reduces their elite status just a little bit. So the more we can get rid of those things, the better for them.
Awesome. And I love that you mentioned that you have $1 million package. So that could be then work out, well, who's the ideal buyer for that package, right? So it could be a sports team where you're servicing multiple athletes, at once. It could be one individual athlete, super high-end athlete. Maybe you get LeBron James. Who knows, right?
No, we need Tiger Woods, because poor thing. I feel so bad for him. He just suffering, and I'm like, dude, we can fix you. You won't have to worry about none of that.
There you go, right? So there you go.
He'll be fine. He's not hurt though.
Well, it happens. So I love it. Okay, so then you go, okay, your strategy here. This is the strategy, right? You know what your offers are, okay, and then from here for content, right? These are content tactics, because everything that you've mentioned so far, and Eric has mentioned, these are all types of content. Yeah. What I'd be looking for is, in terms of your strategy, how do you have a good mix of inbound versus outbound? And what I mean by that is all these things here are what I call inbound, right? It basically means that you create something and then you put it somewhere, and then people come to you because they've found that thing, right? Outbound is where you actually put together a list of potential clients, businesses, partners, whatever it is, and you reach out to them and you go, hey, this is what we do. Can we have a conversation about how we might be able to support you, right? And there's this, I guess, it's a philosophy that you can just grow on inbound, and I think that's a myth. So I mentioned earlier how I helped the accounting firm to get their organic traffic. Within 2 years, we had doubled the amount of traffic coming to the website, and they were getting like 3,000 visitors per month from their website. But a lot of their business came initially, in the initial 2 years, came from actually us finding these businesses and going into communities and speaking into those communities and reaching out to individuals and saying, hey, we see that you're this type of business or this type of person. We serve people like you. Would you like to have a conversation around how we do that, right? Or do you want to go and check out this this book that we've printed, or this ebook? We've created this ebook for people just like you. Do you want to go check that out? So you're going to them rather than waiting for them to come to you. Okay, and so you want to have a good split between that inbound activity, which is the things that you're already doing, and then the outbound activity, right? So, okay, now content, in terms of content strategy, the content strategy needs to answer 3 key things. What's the goal? We've done that. So this is the goal, okay? 12-month vision. And you might break that down to 90 days, okay? If we want to get 18 clients or 24 clients in 12 months, how many do we want in the next 90 days, right? And you can divide that by 4 if that's the way you do that. And then from there, you want to go into, okay, who are we serving, which we've already defined that, okay? And I want you to get very specific around this. Professional athletes in what sports, right? High performance executives in what industries, right? What industries where microcurrent therapy is going to be relevant to them, because like you said, that example you just gave me, that's a very relevant industry, like for that particular individual. So you might focus on particularly just that industry. Let's go find more people like that individual, right? And let's go, because you've got limited time and budget, you can't go speaking to every single industry. So for you, it's going to be, we're going to focus there, and let's go and start trying to get in front of these organizations in that industry, make a list of the top 20 or 50 companies in that industry, and then go, let's reach out to them and say, can we come and deliver a 30-minute or 60-minute talk for free, right? To educate your people about the risks of not having this sorted out. Yeah. And then in that, you would share these stories of executives that you worked with or that you've heard about where these injuries have occurred, you know, and you just, that's also content marketing, going out and giving presentations. And, you know, this is why Erica does virtual summits. Virtual presentations is also content marketing, right? So, so either you go, you know, it's up to you. I like to get out in the front of a room and speak to real people so that I can interact with them. But based on your situation, maybe because you're a mom and other things, so it's easier for you to do it from home or your home office and you just do it virtually. Either way, either or, up to you, right? But definitely think about speaking and doing that on a regular basis. And you're doing a podcast, which is where you're the host and you're giving information out, and maybe you're inviting these high performance athletes and execs on as guests. So you're interviewing them about their careers and, you know, the certain challenges they're having. That's also a good strategy, right? To actually get in front of those potential clients. Okay, so if you're not already doing that, find those people and invite them onto your podcast. Okay, and the goal is not to sell anything to them in that conversation. It's really just to find out more about them and build that relationship. And then, you know, at the end of that, when you stop the recording, you can say, hey, you know, by the way, you know, have you been experiencing any injuries lately? You know, and you start to get to know more about their situation. And then that can lead to, hey, did you want to, you don't do it in that call, but you could say, well, did you want to have book a separate time and we talk about how we can help you with your, improve the recovery speed, right? And then, so that's a very natural way to go about that, you know. Your lead magnet ties into your podcast anyway. Anything that you're doing, whether it's content on social media, whatever, you should be talking about what your lead magnet is and letting people know that's out there. But I think, yeah, sorry, content, think about, and then break it into quarters. Every quarter, that's why I like to say 90-day cycles. I do 90-day content strategies with my clients, right? So I say, okay, over the next 90 days, we are not going to do all these 4 things. That's too much, right? I would say, what is the quickest way to, and we talked about outreach too. So, you know, what is the quickest way to get those first 6 clients or first 4 clients, right? What can we focus on in the next 30 days or the next 90 days to get in front of those, you know, those four clients, right? And so you might go, okay, well, a podcast is going to take time, right? But if I do it right, I could, if I'm speaking to one athlete and one performance exec every single week for the next, 12 weeks, that's 12 potential clients, and maybe 2 or 4 of those become real clients. Right, so that's to me that would be a good investment if you're doing it that way. You might say, okay, well, a book. If you haven't, you know, if you're just starting out and you haven't written a book yet, books take time, and then there's a publishing process, and then there's a marketing process, and there's a whole thing. It also can cost a lot of money depending on how you do it. Right, if it's just an ebook, okay, you could probably whip that up relatively quickly, get it out there, but you're going to still have the same problem. Is how do I get the ebook in front of those people who are most likely to become clients? Yeah. So now you're gonna have to think about, do I run summits? Do I run ads to it? Do I, you know, partner? The way I would see doing that is partnering with someone who already has that audience. So maybe there's an association out there for athletes or some kind of club that supports these athletes, and you go to them and you say, hey, I've got this ebook, which is actually all about how to help athletes, you know, recover better, whatever, deal with these injuries. I think this would be great value to your community. Do you want to talk about how we can collaborate to share that with them, right? And that maybe comes in a form of you also doing a talk, you know, whether virtual or in person, to that community, right? And then in that community, as the gift for joining up, for coming to the talk, you give them the ebook, right? That's how you get it to them. So the value is not the book itself. The book is kind of like the gift, but the value is actually you getting in front of the audience and speaking for 30 minutes. Yeah. And that's why. And so now you're all you really focus on is, well, what if I just got in front of a different audience, you know, every 2 weeks or once a month, right? Once a month, what I'm aiming for is getting in front of a group of athletes, right? And so can you do that? Is that more realistic? Can you spend 3 weeks trying to secure a speaking gig do the speaking gig, and then give away the ebook to everyone that attends. And in exchange, what they're doing is they're giving you their email addresses and saying, hey, yes, I want to learn more about what you're doing. And then you, as you're offering the ebook, you're also offering them a free consultation, right? And so that's how you now we have a content plan. We're going, okay, this is what we're going to focus on, and this requires as much or little energy as you want, but the key is to simplify, right? When I see, oh my gosh, there's 5 or 10 things you got to be doing here, that's just too much. Like you're going to burn yourself into the ground, and unless you've got a team supporting you. And I think just focus on my tagline for our business is, focus on what actually matters. And for you, it's getting clients, right? Getting those celebrity clients, or even not celebrity clients, it doesn't matter. But let's get a few clients, because what happens is when you get those initial clients and you serve them, then you get case studies, okay? And then from case studies, it's easier to get the next batch of clients, because now you can literally go to these people and say, hey, here's Margaret. I helped Margaret do this. Here's Tiger Woods. You might not know who he is, but we helped him, win the next PGA tournament, right? Whatever it was, that's how you go about it. Okay, so
awesome. Yes, I appreciate this so much. I literally, I had a clinic for 14 years. So essentially what's happened is we've taken, I have thousands of case studies.
Nice.
Yes. So, the reason the podcast is going to be like a revamp. So it's not necessarily new. It's an update. And, so the lead magnet, I actually won a professional lead magnet from Moving Forward Small Business. That's the right name, right, Erica? And so that's what their founder specializes in. So he's actually working on that for me right now. So I'm like, wow! I've been talking about that so much. Awesome. Erica's jealous because she didn't get the win. But and the book is, I already wrote the book. It's already at the editor. So all that's happening. So I guess it seems like a lot, like I'm doing a lot, and I do have a big team with me on this. So
what's up?
Yeah, so I don't want you to think I was going crazy, but yeah, I really love the perspective. This makes so much sense. It was so amazing. I really appreciate you answering my question, because I wasn't expecting that, but it really helps me kind of hone in and focus, because that you know these things, like, okay, you're always going to start with your strategy, and then you start looking at strategies, it's like there's a million freaking strategies.
Yep.
And then and I'm constantly like, okay, so we could do this, or we could do that, or we could do this, or we could do that. And I love the 90-day thing. Todd Herman and his 90-day year, I took a thing from him a few years ago, and I freaking love it. So I love that whole concept of the 90 days. And Erica will tell you, I get a lot done in a really short period of time. So I literally wrote the book. I wrote that book in 4 days?
Yeah, wow. She has no idea what procrastination is.
You killed it. That's a woman on a mission. So I think just you go from here, and you basically just lay it out, on a spreadsheet or something. What happens week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 for the next 12 weeks. Okay, what's the one key initiative that you're doing that week, right? So let's do it. Week, right? Key activity, key result you're aiming for. Okay, so it might be book 3 discovery, 3 conversations. It could be deliver 1 talk. It could be whatever it is, right? And then you might just have notes or team members who I would put who's the one that's actually doing the work. All right, so you want to be clear, especially if you're delegating things, so that way you're tracking that on a regular basis. Okay, and it's okay to have 2 or 3, because now that I know that you've got a team, it's okay for you to have the podcast going weekly. It's okay to do, I would think about, again, coming back to our conversation around blogs. Can you take that podcast, transcribe it, put it in as an article format on your website? Don't just rely on the audio, because at the same time as you're building this, what we call the content machine, you're also wanting to build your relevance inside of the search engines, right? You want Google, when someone searches, like my question was, what is microcurrent therapy? Okay, so I want to see an article on your website that answers that question. Okay, and I want it to be in depth, and I want it to be the best one on the internet, right? And so, I would go to Google, type in what is microcurrent therapy, and look at what's coming up on page 1. Same thing that we just did with Erica's, and then compare those and go, okay, how can we do a better version of all of those, right? And what's going to separate and make yours different to everyone else's is going to be your case studies, right? Because in your content, and Erica, you need to be doing the same, is in your content, they just talk about the technical, this is how it all works, the microcurrent therapy, these are all the things that involves in that, but also share stories within that. So within that, you say, well, we know this works, this particular thing works because we actually had this client who came in with this particular injury. Let me tell you about that particular client, right? And you may not give the name because privacy reasons, that's fine, but just give us a fake name and be clear that this is you're keeping the confidential the name of the client, right, for privacy reasons, because there is this thing happening in the marketing world where businesses will go and copy other businesses' content, tweak it so it's not straight plagiarism, right? So Google doesn't notice it's been direct, that's what's happened. The way to counter against that is to actually embed your own stories and your own perspectives, because no one is going to have the client list, the experience, the worldview that Elle has. No one's going to have that, the client list, the experience that Erica has. So make sure this is why I'm so big on case studies, because you can incorporate those case studies in your content, and you should be with every article, every podcast, everything that you put out there. Always make it a habit to mention at least one example of a case or of a situation or case study client that you've worked with, right? Or someone that you've helped, because that way people go, oh yeah, you're not just giving me the technical stuff, but you're also giving it from real world experience, which is what we value most.
Hey, what's up, awesome human? Before we get started with today's episode, I just wanted to invite you to be a guest on Authentic Influence Podcast. For founders and marketers of B2B services or software companies that want to get more leads and sales online, our B2B content audit interview will concentrate on coming up with practical ideas to assist you to improve the results of your content marketing. The ideal guest would be a founder or marketer of a 6 or 7 figure B2B service or software business wanting to grow their website traffic and generate more leads online. This is all 100% free, so head on over to www.simplecreativemarketing.com/live audit. That's simplecreativemarketing.com/live audit and sign up for a content audit interview today. Now here's today's episode of Authentic Influence.
Now, just quickly, if you want to check out the show notes for this episode, just head over to simplecreativemarketing.com/podcast, and you can grab all the links and things and resources on there. And also, if you are a conscious entrepreneur, got a professional services business, working B2B, and you've got an interest in building influence and income through showing up, serving others, and being real, then I invite you to join my Authentic Influence Warriors Facebook group. If you want to do that, just head over to simplecreativemarketing.com/community. Okay, thanks for joining in, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Authentic Influence podcast at AuthenticInfluence.co.